to do. I love to see when y'all get to come together and continue to just pour into one another. So just thank you for having me to be a part of this. Now, Wendy, I just shared my screen a minute ago. Is it still shared or do I have to reshare it?
Reshare it, please.
Okay. See how it works out. Okay, so can everybody see this screen that's shared right now?
You are great.
Okay, awesome. Now, Wendy, I'm definitely gonna need your help throughout this because I can't see the participants anymore. So, like you said, you got.
I got you.
So they come out. Just let me know. Here's one more thing going here, and we should be good to go. So, first and foremost, thank you all again for coming today. Today, we're gonna be talking about you, me, and cultural humility. So, this is a very important topic for us to talk about as providers, as community leaders. Cultural humility is something that I feel like it encompasses everything we are supposed to really want to be a philosophy as caretakers, as clinicians. And Wendy, let me know if I'm speaking too fast. I speak fast very naturally. That's the Marine in me.
No worries. You're doing great for now.
There we go. It's working now. So once again, a little bit about myself. Born and raised here in Central Florida in the Sanford community. U.S. Marine Corps veteran, registered clinical social worker with the state of Florida intern, and the managing partner of Key Counseling Solution based in Oviedo. And also I'm a UCF alumni, so charge on. A little bit about both our for-profit, which is the Key Counseling Solution, and our nonprofit where we do our outreach work. So it's a little bit about us. Now I'd love to talk about that towards the end. These are the things that we're going to really be talking about today. Briefly summarizing cultural humility, providing framework for how mental health professionals apply cultural humility, give strategy for increasing cultural humility, and apply institutional accountability. And that's going to be the key point right at the end. But before we begin, I'd like to do a little icebreaker. So it said, would you rather? So in your comment section, I'm going to ask you guys each one of these one by one and give you about 10 seconds to respond to each one. So, would you rather eat broccoli or carrots? Just put it in your comment section. Oh, comments are going over.
Broccoli, a couple carrots. Oh, broccoli is a big winner here.
It's a big bread. Okay. All right. Next question. Would you rather eat out or cook in?
Oh, that's a tough one.
Oh, we got 50-50, I think, here.
I'm going without. I like other people to do it for
Cook
me.
in COVID, I got that.
Definitely COVID right now.
Yeah.
Number 3, would you rather scuba dive or go into outer space?
Neither. Scuba. Scuba, neither. Outer space. We got mixed here, mostly scuba.
Definitely. Next, would you rather travel by train or by plane?
Plane. Couple trains. We see you, train people. Plane.
This is one of my favorites. Would you rather drive or be driven?
Driven.
Drive, driven. Drive, driven. Audubon. Some crazy drivers out there. Drive.
And the last, we have 2 more. Would you rather vacation at the beach or in the mountains?
Oh, this tells a lot about you.
That's a tough one too.
Beach, mountain.
This is actually pretty fun in person.
Yeah.
Oh, I like both. I like the both person. I feel you.
See?
I'll take them both too, all day.
But the thing, I want you to be able to choose one. We all take both if we could. And last but not least, would you rather watch Twilight or Harry Potter? I'm a Harry Potter.
Twilight.
Fan.
Harry.
Which Harry Potter though?
I like the very first one.
The very first one's so good. Yeah.
Yes. So good. Savannah says Twilight. Tatiana, Marvel.
Marvel? Really?
Right in. There's a right in.
So, this is an icebreaker that we do at the very beginning. Because oftentimes we think we know people when we're walking up to them, but you never really know. So we just want to engage in this open dialogue and see would you rather? Would you rather eat broccoli or eat carrots? Because sometimes you think you know, you just don't know. And that's what we're going to be talking about. We're talking about cultural humility and being okay with not knowing and understand the process that we go through to really start to understand those that we're working with. So it's another activity. And I want you all to try to define cultural humility in one word. When you hear cultural humility, what word comes to your mind?
You can put it in the group chat. Respect, acceptance, compassion, empathy, understanding, patience, open-mindedness, openness, respect, listening, empathy.
Definitely. And definitely. I'm pretty sure they're going to still be coming.
United, empathy, understanding and respect, listening.
Definitely. For myself, what comes to mind is knowledge. That's what comes to mind.
Non-judgmental, I like that. Humbleness.
So with that being said, with humbleness and non-judgmental, let's talk about a man I think we all know, Dr. Martin Luther King. So before we engage in this conversation, I want to talk about two terms that Dr. Martin King talked about in his book called The Strength to Love. And if you haven't read that book, I would truly encourage you to really read it. The book, The Strength to Love, in one of his chapters, he talked about the tough mind and the tender heart. With the tough mind, there must also be a tender heart. So I'm going to really talk about what that means as we get ready to go into this conversation. So a tough-minded individual, as Dr. Martin King put in his book, is someone that has the capability to engage in tough conversation, even when it doesn't really align with what they believe. Even if it goes against some of the things they have learned in their own past, but they're okay with that. They're okay with reevaluating themselves. They're okay with looking at the world in a different perspective for a moment to at least try to understand another's person thought process. So someone that's want to continue the education, someone that has empathy, symptoms improvement, listening. I think that's what we all know in our profession. The tough-minded individual is someone who is okay with that type of process. To say, you know what, although I may not agree with this person, I may not agree with that first, or it's not what I've been taught, this is not what I understood, I have the capability of now really reprocessing, unlearning to relearn. But what must come aligned with a tough mind is a tender heart. They said, if you have a tough mind, but you do not have a tender heart, you become an individual who has the capability of thinking, but not feeling. Become very self-observed and think that the world is only in one black or white way. But if you have a tender heart aligned with the tough mind, you're someone who has the opportunity, you have the ability to have empathy, to feel, to understand, to place yourself in someone's shoes, even if you didn't grow up the way that they grew up. So having a soft heart in a cruel world is courage, not weakness. So I think this is something that we all should be striving for as clinicians, to have not only a tough mind with our education and our training that we have, but a tender heart to understand each person that we encounter in our practice or in our group, our population, is someone new, and I have to open up to really feel them and where they're coming from. So now that we understand tough mind and tender heart, and I hope that you all kind of align right now with your tough mind and tender heart, let's get into what is cultural humility. So it is defined as a lifelong process of self-reflection and self-critique, whereby the individual not only learns about another's culture, but one starts with an examination of her or his own self-belief and cultural identities. For myself, I'm always looking at myself in the mirror, trying to do some critiquing. Where can I improve at? What do I need to do to move out my own way from what I think I know, to allow this opportunity for my mind to open for new information? Sometimes that self-critique, being that self-critic and that self-reflection is the most difficult process for us all to go through. So we're going to go through each one of these one by one. So first, we understand that individuals are multidimensional. So what does multidimensional mean? We're talking about involved, multifaceted, complex, intricate. So any client or any population that we're working with, we understand the people that we encounter are multidimensional. They're not just what we see on our intake forms. So we want to really understand as they're gonna come into our office, this is a new individual that we have an opportunity to really learn about. And I think Shrek kind of breaks it down for us a little better.
Good to see you. Yeah, hey, what's with the polka dots? No, what do you mean? Polka dots are out. It's polka.
I don't get it, Shrek. Why don't you just pull some of that ogre stuff on him? You know, throttle him, lay siege to his fortress, grind his bones to make your bread. You know the whole ogre trip.
Oh, I know what. Maybe I could have decapitated an entire village and put their heads on a pike, got a knife, cut open their spleen and drink their fluids. Does that sound good to you?
No, not really, no.
For your information, there's a lot more to ogres than people think.
Example?
Example? Okay, ogres are like onions.
They stink?
Yes. No.
Oh, they make you cry?
No.
Oh, you leave them out in the sun, they get all brown, start sprouting little white hairs.
No. Layers. Onions have layers. Ogres have layers. Onions have layers. You get it. We both have layers.
Oh, you both have layers. Oh. You know, not everybody likes onions. Cake! Everybody loves cakes. Cakes have layers.
I don't care what everyone likes.
So as you guys can see, Donkey feel like he knew what Shrek was. Like, you're an ogre. This is how you're supposed to act. And Shrek had like, no, I am a lot more than what you see at the surface level. I have layers. And that's what we're talking about. Yes.
Someone has a quick question here. They want to know where the definition of cultural humility comes from.
I found that definition from the universe. Actually, I have it in the notes that I'll be sending over to everyone. It's been the references. I don't have it right here in front of me at this time, but I can't remember the exact university. I believe it's University of Texas that I have for.
Thank you.
But definitely everyone's gonna get this PowerPoint at the end, so a lot of the notes are also attached to it as well. So culture is like an iceberg. Behaviors and practices is what we observe. This is what we do as clinicians. We get to observe these things. But we have to remember as we're working with our clients that they're also gonna be opening up. So we have to be paying attention for their perceptions, their attitudes, their beliefs, their values, and how do they come about having these things? How do they come about gaining these things? So cultural, but what's the difference between cultural competency and cultural humility? So cultural competency is the surface level knowledge you need to be familiar with any culture. So that's just surface level. So oftentimes I hear clinicians like, I think I need to know about this population, everything there is to know. And that's very difficult to do. So we want a working knowledge to build from, but also that working knowledge that we have, we don't want to become the concrete of what this is what each and every population is. It's in this box. Cultural humility is the ability to learn from others and having them to understand and having a better understanding. So how do they come together? So we're talking about working with differences, addressing inequalities, working collaboratively, bringing our own stories to the situation. I don't know how many people is on the call at this moment because I can't see that, but I'm pretty sure we all have our own story. Even if we have similar backgrounds, similar ethnic makeup, race, ideology, our stories are probably still gonna be completely different. For myself, I grew up in a household with 6 siblings. And I know if you talk to myself and my 5 other siblings that grew up with my mother, each one of our story is different in how we perceive the world. So we gotta keep that same understanding when we're working with our populations. But when we look at the side for cultural humility, once again, critical self-reflection, we're talking about us as the clinicians. Ongoing learning, understanding, and curiosity. Attitude, being vulnerable and humble, knowing that you do not have all the answers. A lifetime commitment. Love, passion, and I'm gonna definitely emphasize these 2, empathy and equality. reducing negative power relations. So cultural humility principles that we're going to be talking about moving forward is three principles. If you guys have anything to write it down, once again, you're going to get this PowerPoint, but these are the 3 principles that we're going to be going over. Lifelong learning and critical self-reflection. Recognizing challenging power of imbalances or respect. Institutional accountability. So these are the 3 major principles of cultural humility. So let's talk about, I had to put this key in here. Keep educating yourself. So who all do believe that they're a lifelong learner here? That's why we're here doing CEUs. But we're talking about lifelong learning. Not only are we talking about in the academic standpoint or in the professional development standpoint, but we're talking about in self as well, in others. So it involves not only studying new topics, but also developing an open mind, positive attitude. Can't see everything getting blocked. About the dynamic nature of the world. So that's what we're talking about, open-minded individual with positive attitude about the dynamic nature of the world. This is what we're going to also, we have to continue to be open, lifelong learners in order to ensure that we are becoming the best clinicians that we can for the populations that we serve. So what are some of the benefits? And guys, once again, if you guys have any questions, Wendy, make sure you just gotta catch me in there.
I am so far, no, just a lot of positive things to say about what you're saying.
Definitely. So we're talking about the benefits of lifelong learning. So build new skills, improve those that you already have. At the end of the day, we all are clinicians or some type of providers here. And as clinicians and providers, you know, we do have a skill set that we come out of school with. We got a skill set that we get when we first get with our new agencies and as we develop in our professional development. But one thing all individuals want to be able to do is always to improve those skills, seeking ways to become better than what you already have, reaching out to those who may know more than you, or even sometimes to the populations that you're working with, to hear them, to make sure that you're inclusive of what they say they need. Curious mind, staying curious, staying open. To me, it's having that childlike mindset. Everything is fascinating. Even if you work with a certain population, you feel like you've seen the same client over and over and over and over again. We have to be able to step back, refresh ourselves, and start to look at each additional client that come in as new opportunities. Open minds and increases wisdom, improves memory, and increases self-confidence. So these are the benefits of being a lifelong learner. I like this picture here. This picture, to me, when I look at it, is an individual that, although we feel like we're always completed, it's like, you know, I feel like I may be at a completed stage in my life, but maybe I need to take a step back and look at the parts that complete me. To me, that's that unlearning and relearning. Tools that we utilize in certain parts of our life or certain parts of our practice or us being providers may have to be remodified. I'm not a firm believer of change, but modified and growth is what I believe heavily in. So we always like opportunity for growth. So it's the process of questioning one's own assumptions, presumptions, and meaning perspectives. We all come from different backgrounds and we all have, let's say, implicit biases. Let's just get to the point.
Hey, Pernell.
Yes.
You're a therapist and you don't even know that you're saying something that could be harmful to someone else. Do you recommend checking in from time to time, you know, because you could totally be missing something that you don't even know because it's just.
Yes, I definitely recommend that. So it's like you're saying, I'm trying to make sure I understand the question, Wendy. So you're working with a client, he may be saying something that could be hurtful or something that could be misinterpreted and disrespectful in that type of culture. How do you check in?
Yeah, and from your point of view, you don't even realize you're doing it, you know? Yes. Is it important to check in with your clients and to ask that from time to time?
Yes, I believe that's a very important thing for us to do. Always check in with your client to ensure what you're saying isn't culturally or just personally inappropriate or hurtful.
Are there any questions to ask at the beginning of a therapeutic relationship that you recommend before you even start, like ones that really jump out at you?
So like on our intake forms, I have questions on there, like, what is your favorite music? What are some things that has hurt you in the past, words or comments that have hurt you in the past? So I have that, so they are able to put that on their intake form. And
I like that.
I have clients one time, like it was interesting to know that I asked what are their favorite music. And to me, I'm a firm believer that sometimes music can connect us all. So when I hear your favorite genre or your favorite artist, I like to go listen to that, and I feel like I'm connecting with the client in a different way.
I like that.
And then, like I said, also the comment of what words or what comments have hurt you in the past. So I'm able to really utilize that opportunity to get into that conversation and probably get more in depth about why did this hurt you and how can I ensure that I don't re-traumatize you or re-hurt you with those same words.
Thank you.
No problem. But once again, this is for us to be doing. We need to be doing this ourselves as clinicians all the time, looking ourselves in the mirror, looking at ourselves. What am I doing? How can I improve? And once again, with your own clients, I know for me, often I do a check-in with my clients after our 6 and 12 sessions. Every 6 sessions, I can check in. How do you feel about what's been going on in our sessions? Is there anything that you would like for me to improve upon? Because we don't see it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You can be the most self-aware person ever, but sometimes you don't see it. So, but we're talking about this. Now, I don't know about you all, but when I first get a client that comes into my office, I let them know a couple of different things. I let them know about confidentiality. I let them understand, what my modality is when I go to treatment. But I always end off with the most important part to them, to me, is that this therapeutic relationship is a partnership. I always say that to each and every one of my clients. Oftentimes, when I say that this is a partnership, people clients get a better understanding, like, okay, we're working together. They don't just feel like, hey, this guy is just a therapist, he knows everything, and it's like, oh no, it's a team. This is a team. And we both have to play our part in this partnership. So recognizing and challenging power imbalances for a respectful partnership. So relinquishing the assumption of hierarchy in a relationship. So I don't know how many people probably work with, let's just say this population, say adolescents, for example. Oftentimes adolescents, they're so used to authority figure and them being the child or kid that they kind of feel afraid when they come into a therapist's office. Like, if I say something here, am I gonna get in trouble? So my adolescents, I definitely like, this is a partnership. I need you to talk with me so we can get down to the root of the cause, root of the issue here. Recognize that each person and group brings something different into the interaction. For example, I have 2 male clients, both Black African-American males. One is from Port Arthur, Texas, and the other is from Brooklyn, New York. Now, if you go off with just the base of what both these clients look like, you just see 2 Black males. And if I just went off with their intake forms, when it was almost identical. But working with both these men, it was a totally different relationship that I had to establish. Port Arthur, Texas gentleman, he needed someone that had a Southern draw, someone that he felt like he had been heard, because he kept just getting in trouble, he kept getting fired because he felt disrespected. It was a different way that he was used to being raised from the South. The guy from New York needed someone that could understand that he's going to talk with his hands. He's going to be real amped, but it's not that he's angry, but it's just how he communicates his emotion. Then once he got to get out his feelings, then he was able to sit back like, man, you hear me. Mm-hmm. You're not just looking at my body language, but you're hearing me and understand I'm not trying to be aggressive. But I had to approach both these men differently. So that's why I said recognize that each person and group brings something different into the interaction. No matter if you do work with the same population or may look like an identical population. Both people and groups must collaborate and learn from each other for the best outcomes.
Jeanette also said same experience with Latino and Hispanic population.
Definitely. So but that's very, very true. And then also, like I said, this very one is like the collaboration and learning from each other. Oftentimes I feel that my clients get empowered when I say, oh man, that's interesting. I never knew that. When they feel like they taught me something. But what I realized when they get that, when they feel empowered, they're opening up more as well to receive what I'm pouring into them. They're opening up to our treatment plans. They're more enthusiastic about hitting our goals and our objectives.
Mm-hmm.
They be excited to come in each session like, man, guess what I did? You know, we had a goal for X, Y, Z. I did it. So they feel like, you know, when they get to teach me something in here and they get to tell me something, it's like, I want to know, hey, Mr. Bush, you taught me, and this is what I got to learn. This is what I did with it. And I have had clients who say, you know what, I appreciate this type of environment that you create because I don't feel like you're talking down to me. Like you know more about myself than I do me.
Mm-hmm.
So this is all for clinicians. I want you guys to look at yourself right now. Oftentimes we walk into a client, you're like, look at me, I'm the expert now. But we have to understand, yes, we are the experts in treatment planning and therapeutic modalities, but we are not the expert on the clients that we may be working with. And like, once again, each client is new. Each client is someone that we have to approach as if, hey, although you may have a diagnosis that I recognize, that I have worked with 1,000 times, your story, your values, your belief may be different. So I'm trying to get to know you. So removing the self-proclaimed cultural expertise, per se. So I want to take a moment. I want to take about 60 seconds. And this is what I want you all to do for 60 seconds. And I'm going to explain to you what we're going to do before we do it. Oftentimes, you understand, when we all went through school, K through 12, through college, we kind of got conditioned that we had to get everything right. For a test, you're trying to get everything right on that test, right? We all want the best grades that we can get. And sometimes what we don't realize is that we bring that same type of thought process and mind process into working with people. That I got to get this right, and I don't get it right, it's something wrong with me as a professional. So I want to take time for us to remove the personal and professional guilt and shame that you may have if you feel like you don't know everything about a certain population or culture or client right away. So I want to take about 60 seconds for you to really just close our eyes in 3, 2, 1, and forgive yourself for not knowing everything. And whatever else that you may need to relinquish. It's okay. Our whole purpose is to be here and continue to learn. That's the part of being a lifelong learner. That's the part of being okay with knowing that this may be a new individual, and ask them, would you rather X or Y? Be okay with that. Be okay going to other colleagues and asking, hey, would you be willing to sit down with me? And in 10 seconds, I'm gonna count down. I want you all to open up your eyes. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, open. I want us all to feel lighter for being okay without knowing everything. It's okay. But that's the part of practicing humility. That we're talking about being humble. It's a humbleness. But I want to bring back that childlike excitement as well. The childlike excitement for learning about each client, about each situation. It's okay. That's what we need. That zest, that like, oh my God, I'm meeting someone new. I'm about to work with this new client. I know I have the tools and the capabilities to work with them, but I have to get to know them to know which way I should utilize this. How should I communicate with them? And being okay with that. Be a kid in the first couple of sessions. Like for myself, my first 2 to 3 sessions, I'm asking a lot of questions. Why? What? Can you elaborate? Kids, why? Why? So that's what we have to do. And I'm telling you, yes.
Positive feedback here for you, Pernell. A lot of people are saying they're breathing a lot easier, that this really helped. They love this.
Thank you. But I'm happy that we're all coming together to understand that it's okay. And I think oftentimes we haven't been told that. Once again, we are the experts when it comes to treatment planning, therapeutic modalities. But when we get with our new clients, when we're working with our population, we always have to be in that curious state of why, how, and what is the best way for me to help you. I ask all my clients that, and I'm pretty sure you all do as clinicians, at the very end of our first session, I always ask this first question. It's this question here. What are 2 goals that you have in therapy, for therapy, and what way do you think I can help you? And sometimes my clients get stuck because they're not used to hearing that. And they come back the next session like, hey, Mr. Bush, I know how I think you can help me. This is what I want from you. This is how I need you to communicate with me. So after we go through all that personally, now we got to talk about the institutional accountability. So where your agencies are, how are they approaching the clients and groups that you're working with? This is something that we have to continue to challenge and continue to always make sure that we're evolving to improve upon our delivery of services to the population that we're providing services to. So organizations should always model principle 1 and 2. So even as organizations, we should be lifelong learners, always being critiquing self. And they always look for ways to look at where's the imbalance of power. But as organizations, also we need to be developing partnerships with the people and groups who we advocate for. Have them be a part of what we're trying to create in our agency and in the culture that we're trying to create to ensure that we have healthy delivery. It must be addressed systematically. So how often have you asked those in your agency, or if you are in private practice like myself, how are you readdressing those things? I know when I first started my private practice, everything pretty much came from my own brain. It just came from my mind. I put it on paper and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go out and make this happen. However, when I started opening the practice, I'm like, okay, this is the population I want to serve. And I started asking those populations these questions like, what more could I be doing here? What do you like? I'm always looking at my strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats as an agency.
Patrick says sometimes we have to regain our passion of why we came into this field. I think that is the childlike excitement you speak of.
Yes. Yes. In order for us to stop burnout, sometimes we have to go back and figure out why were we here in the first place. You have to go back to, I guess, Eric Thomas, and everybody's saying it now, your why. Why did we all become mental health clinicians? Why do we want to become helpers? What is the why? Even sometimes when the job doesn't feel like it's as fulfilling as it used to be. When you have a personal mission attached to what you're doing, you're able to remember your why. For myself, on my wall, when I first got home from the Marine Corps, I had to recreate a mission for myself because I felt lost. And once I wrote this mission out, it always reminded me and regrounded me in no matter what I was doing. And my mission was, I, Pernell Bush, my mission is to strengthen, empower, and edify all those I encounter.
Love that.
So my personal mission each day is like how, if I empower one individual, if I help someone get stronger in a certain area, if I'm able to teach or edify someone, I have done what my mission is. And each day when I wake up, I am still on that mission. So once you figure out your why and remember the purpose why you got here, write down your personal mission. So when we all leave this today, we're going from CEUs to ICU. Okay, that's
Love that.
we're taking this. So we're taking all the education in. We talking about everything that we need to, how we can become better individuals, become better clinicians. Now, when you start to work with your population or your clients, I want you to have a really I see you. Each person you encounter should feel as if you see them for who they are. It's like, I don't know everything, but I see you, and I see you enough that I want to understand you. I want for you to open up to me. So I wanted to make sure I left enough time for questions and any other comments and open up for a group discussion.
So Pernell, that last one that you just said, it sounds more like it's not saying the right things, but more of being able to take in what your client or your patient is telling you.
Yes. So we got to think about it like this. I'm about to stop the screen sharing for a while so I can see everyone. All right. So that last part is really just about, like I say, creating that space, being there with them. You know, so we all have heard the term create the space. You're creating space for this person to feel like they're being seen, they've been heard. Oftentimes, when we have clients coming in, sometimes they feel like the world is not seeing them. They always are being talked down to, or nobody truly cares. I get that a lot. I get that a lot from a lot of my clients. Nobody truly cares. So, but I'm seeing you. When I say I see you for who you are, and I see you enough that I want to understand you. And that's why I had the kids with the books. I don't know how many avid readers we have here, but oftentimes you may see the cover of a book and you're like, I see the cover of this book. It looks like it's going to be great. And you see this cover and it gets you so excited, you pick up the book to open it up and read it. And that's the same type of thought process we're talking working with clients in a way. Like, I see you. I see you, and I still want to get to know more about you.
Yeah, it's more than using just the right term or the right appropriate thing to say. It's seeing the person.
Yes. Definitely, Patrick just said something about, you know, some clients not get to resolve most issues, but at least get them in the right direction. Yes. That's very true, Patrick. Sometimes it's just to empower the clients to feel as if, you know, they definitely have the tools and capabilities. That's my biggest thing with my clients. Like for me, I tell each one of my clients, I want to be a good enough clinician where you don't have to really see me ever again, except for a routine check-in every blue moon. I want to ensure that I'm providing you with the tools and techniques that you are able to, when you walk outside this office, that you have everything that you need to be equipped and create the life that you want, to be happy in your personal and professional life. That is my ultimate goal for each one of my clients. And I says, it's not that I don't like you, I just don't want you to have to see me again. It's not the best business model, but I think that's what our goal should be.
Absolutely.
Any other questions? And you guys, if you want to come off, can they come off mute? Do you have them on mute?
Absolutely. Please feel free, unmute yourself. Michael says, empowering client, so important, as I have always learned from each one, but at times I try not to self-disclose, but it sounds like you point out it can be important. Part of client and counselor, using this with Therapeutic Alliance to show understanding.
Definitely. So, you know, when it comes to self-disclosure, as clinicians, we all have to gauge where that can be at, where it can, if it could possibly be something that can help a client. You know, I'm not saying become just a full self-disclosure where the session is now about you, but if you see a client maybe struggling with something and possibly you have a story or you have had that same challenge and you're able to share with this client, now they're like, you know what, hey, Mr. Bush, you don't went through that too? How did you overcome it? Right now, we understand we're in a world that almost everything is transparent. You know, social media has made it to where they want to know everything. So when we're able in a counseling session and you're able to self-disclose to help and to maybe help this client push past a tough point for them, you have to be the judge of that to see if that's something that you're willing to do. if you're willing to disclose that. Definitely. I'll be more than happy. Like I said, do we have any questions? Like I say, you guys take yourself off mute. I just wanted to really have a conversation with you all. I made sure I left enough time. I know we had a lot of people register.
Well, I can just share my personal experience as a therapist, as a new therapist. When I started, there were times where, you know, my client was telling me something. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say as a new clinician. But then if you really just stand next to your client and be there with them, a lot of times it doesn't matter what you say, but it's standing next to them and getting them to what their goal is. I love that you ask people, what are your goals?
Definitely. Now, I can tell you guys, I'm someone that grew up with a speech impairment. I speak fast, and sometimes a lot of people don't understand. I love what I do as a therapist because it's 70-30, 70% listening, 30% speaking.
Mm-hmm.
So all the time, as you're listening to your client, they're telling you what they probably need for you to say. Just a natural conversation. That's why I love my profession. People are like, why don't you be a professional speaker? Because I'm like, I don't really like speaking like that. I love to sit back and listen. And
Hey, Parnell.
Yes, how you doing, Kizzy?
Hi. So first of all, I feel very empowered after listening and attending this. So thank you so much. It definitely is food for thought. And as I listened, it allowed me an opportunity to reflect on my skills and how I interact with a lot of my clients. And I'm pretty a fair new clinician, licensed clinician anyways. So there's a lot of fear that I encounter within myself of making sure I do no harm to clients. But what I am learning and understanding with this COVID situation, that it has created a whole different level or a different type of culture. Because now people are starting to learn and experiencing things that they never had to experience before and never probably ever imagined in their life. So I like to look at that part as a whole different type of cultural reality for me, if that makes sense.
No, that makes plenty of sense. That makes plenty of sense, because I'm loving that you're taking that approach and you're realizing that, you know, when you understand we're in a very complex world right now. So everything that we learn in the textbook, sometimes we have to add different things when we're working in this population. I don't know how many people in here, everything that you learn in the textbooks, I'm pretty sure like, wait a minute, this was not in the textbooks. We have to always step back and say, okay, this wasn't in the textbook. Well, how can I figure out a way to really ensure that I'm looking at this person from the person in the environment, from the whole person within itself. So I think, Kizzy, you're doing right. And congratulations on completing your licensures.
Jane asked, what about the
Thank you.
You can't understand because you aren't Black, or you are old, and you weren't in Afghanistan, or for those examples?
So that when it comes to something like that, Gene, that's definitely I know for a lot of my colleagues, I'm the only Black male in my office space. So all my colleagues are all white females, and they come to me with questions all the time. And you know, I tell them, to me, it's very simplistic when I explain it. But in our community, in our culture, we just say real, recognize real. And I'm gonna explain what that means. Okay, you have to be who you are, and understand like, hey, I'm here in this space with you, and I want to learn about you. And I know I may not have had the life experiences that you have had, and I may be a little older than you, but please believe I'm bringing everything I can to assist you. And I'm gonna be really who I am. I'm gonna be authentically me, and I want you to be really who you are and authentically you. And that already creates a mutual, like, okay, I don't have to front for this person. Like, oh, wow. Mm-hmm. You know, like I was talking about my 2 Black male clients, the one from New York said he had tried therapy before. And he said, well, man, I was talking to her, but she was just so caught up on my hand movement and me talking fast, and I was loud in my story, but she thought that, and she was taking it as me being angry, but I was just telling my story. I was just trying to get off my chest. Mm-hmm. So, you know, when we understand, like for myself, like I said, I speak very fast. When I go home, I speak with my hands a lot. I have been told times like, hey, you sound like you angry. So I identify with that. So that's what we say with this cultural humility, understanding cultural competency is including that. It's the working knowledge, but cultural humility is like, okay, I have a working knowledge of this culture, but I know each person from this culture may be different. So I'm going to say, hey, do you normally talk like that? Or this is how you normally communicate with your friends? And that's right. That's how you act sometimes. You know, sometimes you ask the client, hey, how do you communicate with your friends?
That's a good one.
Because they're like, oh man, oh, this is how I talk to my homeboys, da 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 da. And you know, so it's like, okay, I want you to communicate with me like you would communicate with your friends. So it gets them a little comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the best way I can tell you about that, Jean. Make sure we don't have anything else.
Pernell,
Yes.
you had us do that exercise where we kind of reset and said we don't know it all, and
Yes.
that's okay. What would you suggest if we mess up? What if we get it all wrong and we've now entered into this murky area of maybe causing offense to our client or our colleague or whoever it may be?
No, once again, just be open, honest, and genuine, and like, you know, if your client brings to your attention, you know, I apologize right away. If they're looking for an apology, or you know, ask them, hey, I didn't realize that. You know, how can I ensure that I don't do that again? You know, so this is really just being accountable. It's like, hey, it wasn't intentional, but I'll take accountability for what I did do. And how can I ensure that we can rectify the situation, or how can I ensure that it doesn't happen again? But the most important part here, everyone, is not beating yourself up once that incident is over. Walking away, it's like, I can't believe I did that. Oh, wow. Because, you know,
You can't be perfect.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The beating yourself up a lot of times weighs more than the mess up you probably have with the client. The client probably forgot about it, but now you're going into each session like, I can't believe I did that. Oh my God, I don't want to do it again.
And I know therapists overthink everything. I am one of them.
Yes.
And
Probably mess them up for life.
Yes. So definitely, we have to forgive ourselves. That's what I'm saying. We have to probably do that routinely. Forgive yourself routinely. Yeah. Forgive yourself probably for not knowing, like, oh wow, I wanted to utilize this modality, but this part of the modality might be better utilized with this client. Forgive yourself for being okay with not knowing and doing everything correctly, but knowing that you are doing your best every time you approach any client.
Mary says, what is my communication style saying to my client as well, which is important to look at internally.
Yes. Yes. The way that we communicate, so, you know, for me, I always let people know when they come into my office, just like I told you all, hey, I speak fast very naturally. You know, if any time if you're especially a client with like anxiety and you're like, wait, I can't catch you, Mr. Bush, just let me know, I'm so sorry. You know, and I'll be more than happy to try my best to slow down. Mm-hmm. Or even how I may say certain words. You know, I don't know if you all are familiar with code switching. Code switching is a term that is utilized. It's almost like being bilingual, but it's code switching is utilizing verbiage and things like so for myself, when I go home, I speak one way. When I'm in my professional world, I speak another way. But when I see a client may speak a certain way and they're okay with that, you know, once again, you have to really be very mindful on that, knowing how to code switch so you make sure that you're saying words that they understand or that they relate with. Tom, I see you came on mute. I was going to.
Is it okay to jump in?
Yes, Nicole, come on in.
Okay, let me see if my video will work. So, hi.
Hi.
I just wanted to say it was good to hear all of this because I supervise interns. I work at Stetson University and I tell them a lot of these things. So like, it's good to know I'm on track with them because a lot of times they worry about like, you know, am I doing the skills right, this and that. And, you know, like you can tell when they're in there and they're like, oh, what do I say? So it's more about, you know, like your relationship with a person. And that's kind of what I've gotten from all of this. You know, it doesn't matter what you say or what skill you use, because if you don't care and they think you're being fake, then it doesn't really matter.
You're never gonna open up enough for any modality to work.
Right. So
we never grant, you know, if we never establish that rapport and that relationship and gain their trust, no matter what modality that you may utilize, the thing may be best, it won't, probably most likely won't work because they're not open enough. So you're right, Nicole. You got to, that rapport and that relationship is very important, that partnership. And that's why I utilize that in each one of my openings with my clients, because everyone understands partnership or a team. And when they hear that, they're more apt to work with you. And so they're not looking at you as a therapist client. It's like, oh, this is a team. Tom.
Yeah, first, Pernell, thank you for your presentation. It's excellent. And as always, as a lifelong learner, I'm learning more today, and I appreciate that. I liked what you said earlier about music. That's what I use in my practice. That's how I got into my practice. And it's very powerful, especially cross-culturally,
yes.
because I can utilize music and connect with young people, with people from different ethnic backgrounds, and this old white guy is still cool because he's a musician. So it's a real opener for me to connect with clients. And then to dovetail that into what others have been saying, the therapist-client rapport is the #1 thing for success in treatment. And like you said, it doesn't matter what modality I use. It doesn't matter if I connect with the client and they feel that I'm authentic and we develop that therapeutic relationship. They do the work, they get better.
Yes.
It's in spite of my mistakes and the things that I go home with and say, oh, I don't believe I did that, or I hope I didn't take that the wrong way. It's in spite of that because they know where I'm coming from.
Yes, Tom. And I love it. I love it. And I'll tell you this, Tom, to be honest, I love that you say utilize music. I think reason I always ask about my client favorite genre of music or favorite artist, because, you know, I try to go listen. I try to go listen in an unbiased way. And, you know, oftentimes you'll learn a little something from your client. And also it's another way to build a commonality with them. Like, hey, I actually listen to I don't tell them I listen to them, but, you know, if they say something about one of their favorite musician or favorite genre of music, I'm at least able to follow along what they're speaking about. Yeah, and it's a commonality, it's a connection that we make. So I love it.
Love it.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone.
Hey.
I also wanted to add, sometimes when you have the clients, especially younger kids, you have them teach you something.
Yes.
So it's not just for them to like you, but they really teach you and they will go all at it and then you connect. That's what it takes.
Yes. Yes. And, you know, I think with our youth population, our adolescents, we definitely have to understand where they are in their stage of development. And oftentimes they want to teach, they want to be heard. And when they feel like they're providing something to you, it's like, okay, I taught you something, now I'm gonna let you teach me something. Oftentimes adolescents, they want to feel like they're letting you.
Correct.
So,
Yeah, I know. They give you permission.
Yes, exactly. So I know we got a couple more minutes, and I just want to tell you all once again, thank you all, and just for attending today's session. I gave the presentation to Sarah and Wendy, so if you guys want the presentation, they'll be sending it out to you all. At the end of the day, I look forward to continue to work with you all as colleagues throughout the state of Florida and continue to do what we're doing and serving the populations that we all serve. And I just want to tell you all thank you.
Thank you so much, Pernell, and thank you all for joining us. When we put in the group chat our information to go on the Google Doc and enter your information, the code word is going to be humility. So make sure you enter that in so we know that you attended the presentation. Pernell, what a profound presentation today. Thank you. So
Thank you.
Start out the weekend. I know personally I feel inspired and just, I don't know, connecting on a human level. It's just, that's what we're here for. That's what it's all about. And that's our commonality. So appreciate you so much. Sarah, thank you for co-hosting with us. And thank you participants for being here. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend.
Hope you all have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
I'm so sorry, I forgot to put my email. I think Wendy's going to send out my email. Cool. Bye, everyone.
Okay. Okay. Keep sharing it. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. 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 All right. Sure. Yeah. 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 Okay. Yeah. 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 Okay. Sure. Like different spots in Daytona. But she was asking me, she was like, "Well, Tony, what would you take a picture?" And I say, for me, I would take a picture on